Welcome back, Smite fans. We are here for the semifinals of Smite Prime. And up in our bracket, we have Jump Machine versus the Bakery. And then we are about to watch the King's Court versus Bible Study. So it's going to be a fun time here, Musy. How are you feeling about this upcoming game? Do you have one team over the other that you think might take it away? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm excited to see these two teams go against each other. Seeing the fact that the King's Court were able to win over Content Team 6 does make me feel like they might have a little bit of a leg up over Bible Study. Just because we were just talking about how Content Team 6 looked like a team that seemed pretty strong, a lot of stacked names in there. So having King's Court come out on top makes me go, well, hold on, let them cook. You know, maybe they got a little something going on underneath the hood that we weren't initially privy to. But, you know, can't say for sure right now. Obviously, we got to see them butt heads before we can really draw some big conclusions.
I agree. And before the break, we talked about some gods that we haven't seen that we might like to see. And I forgot of one, Muzi. It was Amaterasu. I just can't believe we haven't seen her yet. She seems to be one that if you go and play Smite right now, you've probably seen her game. People are very frustrated against playing her. But here at the next level of competition, people aren't really finding her value or necessarily finding her frustrating even enough to ban her. So curious to see, does she show up in either of the last two games that we get today in the semifinal or finals? But looking at the past several games that we've been through now, we've seen some picks come through. We've seen some picks that are banned. I think the Thor, the Sobek, and Afro, Artemis, Kernanos seem to be the ones that stand out the most. Heading into this next game, is that your kind of regular thought? Those are the ones that we're going to be looking for picks and bans? Or do you think we get any change up here after seeing the Morgan do so well, or even though the Thanatos as well?
So I would assume that probably Sobek continues to be banned through. It feels like Sobek feels very strong in every game that he's in. Even if we don't always see it succeed, it's very good at doing their job. Pluck is so good. Sobek executes in general very strong. So probably Sobek bans, if not priority picks. Again, we have Cernunos, like you said, kind of a rising name for our ADCs over in that dual lane. So between them and Onher and Artemis, I don't see too much outside of that being picked. And then, of course, always the evergreen Princess Bari ban. I don't think she ever gets to see the light of day.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see her. She's been banned every single game. If she gets through, they got really frustrated with something else the game before to be like, I don't want to see that, is the only way I think that happens. And that makes both teams have to do that. It seems like that's just not something anyone's willing to risk right now, though I would love to see it. Obviously, we haven't seen Hecate at all today. Now that I think about it, she was banned in the one game that we thought she might be played. And then Kerberos is auto banned this week. Will be available next week for play. So something to watch out for our fans of the doggo of the battleground. So there are some picks I would like to see. I would love to see Cupid come out. We talked about that earlier. Like, it's a little bit surprising the amount of sustain that some of these comps are reliant upon. Cupid, you would think, needs to make his way up there, but somehow just hasn't based off the other hunter picks that are available. Wouldn't be surprised to see a soul at some point. I think that's always something that's safe, but also does a lot of damage. We just haven't seen it as of yet. But I do think we've seen a good variety of tanks. Maybe we finally get to see the Achilles. We talked about the Execute here. It's something that can go as well. But we have to help over to pick some bans to find out more of what we're going to see in this matchup with the King's Court and the Bible Study. So here we go. We have King's Court on the Chaos side. Order side is going to be the Bible Study. Muzi, who's getting banned first here?
Well, I'm going to call it out high to the sky. Probably Sobek, right? Sobek's been either first banned or first picked a few of these games and just seems like a very strong character. Or Princess Bari. I mean, that makes sense too. My personal opinion is that when you know a god is going to be auto banned in the game, usually you wait to try to force that ban from the team that is going to be picking second so that you can threaten it as a first pick. But maybe Bible Study just don't have a Princess Bari in their pocket, so they don't want to play that game at all. They're just saying get rid of her immediately.
We see an Ares banned away, someone that we saw earlier that did fairly well, especially get something like a Fenrir, something that wants to get a little bit active with dashes and jumps, and then an Aladdin banned away over on the other side. I mean, we saw Aladdin pop off earlier with the lamp plays. I'm not surprised that this comes through. It can be really annoying to deal with, especially when you know someone on the other team is very good at playing Aladdin. And then we see the sub execute out of here. Maybe some other executes come through, whether it's Achilles or Thanatos. We'll have to see. Maybe we don't get either, or maybe there's no executes this game, but I think we might see one or two here. But we head over to the first pick here for Bible study. What are you looking at here for first pick, Musi? Are we looking for that Thor? Or you think there's something else that's a little bit higher on the echelon that we need to look for?
So, I mean, Aphrodite's still available, Kabrakan's still available, very strong characters, either in support or solo, so I feel like those are definitely something that we want to try to look at. But we also have a bunch of flex picks available, but it is going to be that Kabrakan, still very strong in the solo lane, even though we saw nerfs across the board to some of the items that Kabrakan likes to build. But, you know, we also saw some steps back from some of the damage as well. So Kabrakan's still very powerful to have in your lane and a good flex pick. You could throw them to support if you really wanted to, but ideally wants to sit right there in solo lane.
Yeah, this is something that's a little bit weird. I talked about this earlier. I think if you're going to go the route of a Cabra, I don't think it's something you have to go first pick. I think you wait for it later in the draft. I think it's just way too easy to kind of counter. Yeah, he has a lot of health. He can kind of get jiggy with it, as we mentioned earlier. He can move around a bit. But I don't think first pick is the place that you pick him. I think there's just too much opportunity to shut him down with the rest of your draft. But now the ball is in the King's Court, and we have to find out, what are they looking at?
So to me, Artemis, or not Artemis, but Achilles, I would say would be a great pick here. I very firmly believe that Achilles wins lanes pretty handily against Kabrakan. A lot of that is because Kabrakan doesn't have a lot of ways to get away from the Achilles execute. So with a gank and the ultimate, you could definitely take care of that Kabrakan in lane at least. But I would hope that the King's Court don't necessarily move towards something like an Artemis pick, just because I feel like Kabrakan does so well into that matchup, completely ignores the trap, so you're kind of forced into the aspect, and if that's not the style of play that you're used to, then you kind of pigeonhole yourself into a style of play where it's just not going to feel as good. Fenrir picked up here for the King's Court. That'll be their first pick that they desire, so showing that they want a good, healthy mix of either the, what do you call it, like CC, flexibility in terms of roles.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the Fenrir. He obviously has the lockdown. There's the idea you could go the aspect. I don't think the aspect is super viable here, especially against this Kabrakan. I think you go to the regular options here. If he wants to up down stun somebody, he wants to do that brutalize, get some damage off, and he wants to Ragnarok his way through a fight. But we're throwing back to casters cameras for a little bit. Seems like something might be going along with our lobby, so we'll head back in just a few minutes. But looking at those first two picks, I am kind of wondering, like, what's the play here? You have the Kabrakan that can lock things down. I don't know that that's a fun time for Fenrir to jump into, but it doesn't give a lot away about your draft locking in the Fenrir there. You can still hop in, Ragnarok him or anybody else. Shell is still your friend. You could go 5 shells if you wanted to, and just, hey, I don't care about walls. I'm curious to see what the play is here against the Kabrakan. Do you see the things like that Achilles? Do you see the things maybe like Thor, and you wall him into his walls that he has to go break them? Yamoj is an option that we talked about earlier. I think there's a lot left on the table, but I am very curious that this is the second time today that we've seen Kabrakan valued as a #1 pick for a team.
Well, the character is just so strong because they can flex not only to different roles, but also different types of team compositions. The two big ones being that 3-stage dive, or maybe something a little similar to a front to back. Kabrakan's a great tank that you can use to bait out things like relics or ultimates from an enemy team just by dangling in front of people, because he's a god that you have to answer to when he starts doing things like slamming on your carries, applying CCs. He's got the tremble, and, heaven forbid, he starts to ult on top of your squishies. You're like, well, I need to answer this. We have to do something. So the first pick from the Kabrakan there is just, we want to be able to build a team comp where either he's out there by himself or he's part of a 3-stage dive.
I'm looking at these drafts. All right, we got a lot to talk about real quick.
It populated real quick.
There are some things to discuss here. Okay, Finrir Odin. I like the Odin counter pick here. I think that's kind of nice. I think that's a nice little play into this. The Morgan, we're going to see yet again Jingwei and Yamoja. We get to see the Yamoja finally. I talked about it earlier. Yamoja plus Odin, I think, does a lot, especially against this Kabrak, and you're going to lock him into his own cage, possibly, and that could be problematic. But on the other side, we have the Hecate on her, Loki, and Ymir. I mean, looking at these drafts, Musi, how are you feeling now that they're populating? We can see what's going on, what they're thinking.
There's a couple of stinkies that stick out to me here. And, we'll get a chance to see that as we transition towards, not a picks and ban screen, but good old classic Battleground of the Gods. And that is, to me, Loki and Jingwei. I mean, these picks are not conventionally powerful in the way that we understand them. They've been known to be a little on the weaker side, right? And Loki, a large part of his weakness is the fact that he kind of struggles to kill people in a tank meta. And then in a team with coordination, it's very easy to pick out Loki and be like, kill that guy, right? Like, you just shut him down. And then Jingwei is very safe, but maybe a little lacking in the damage department, lacks that inherent penetration that on her CERN is able to bring, or the sustain that Cupid can bring. She's just very safe, which I don't hate that pick, especially against something like a Kabrakan, like a Ymir or Loki. You can say that Jingwei should be able to peel for herself because she has the ultimate and the dash, but when it comes time to do an objective, it gets a little sketchy.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like the hate I gave Jingwei before this game made this happen. I think Golden knew my feelings on Jingwei possibly being the worst hunter. But with that being said, I do think Jingwei in this draft is actually pretty good. The escapability that's there, whether it's ulting out of some of those situations, I do think overall there's an option here for that. Me and you have talked about my feelings on Loki from previous Smite Primes, and the fact of I don't trust many players in these top coordinated games to be able to execute what they want to do. He is a very good single target jungler. The problem is when team fights start to happen and things get very coordinated. If your team has the better coordination, your Loki's going to do great. If you don't have that, that becomes problematic, and it does worry me a little bit. So some things to watch for here on both sides of it. I think we have some really good matchups across the board, though. Odin into Kabrakan, very interesting, very good. Hecate and the Morgan. Who are we going to see? Briz is, here playing the Morgan in mid. We saw it in support earlier from Aurora. What option do you go for here? Who are you looking to turn into? Is it someone from your own team or someone else? I'm really excited. I think we have good matchups across the board. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Lots of walls and, a few shells along the way, some would say.
Well, and what's interesting, too, with Morgan in the mid is that she lacks the defensive capability that you would normally find in support or even solo. The itemization doesn't necessarily favor being able to walk up and ult people like we saw Aurora doing last game, where you have this Morgan in the middle of everybody and everybody's, jumping on top of her, but you can't kill her. Not so much here. Briz needs to stay very hyper aware of positioning with this character. As far as like who she's going to ult into, I would assume maybe something like Hecate, so you can open the gates or something like that.
Ooh, we get active here early. All the damage put onto the Hecate, but it doesn't matter. NMMR turns it around into Justin, who? He puts him on the gray screen. Briz now getting ran down. The Morgan that we were just talking about is in lots of trouble. Lucky for the King's Court that the Hecate ult isn't online, or I think we might have seen a Morgan getting brought back. That could have been very problematic because Beads was burned. First Blood goes into Bible study here. And now taking a look over here at the duo lane. We have, this Ymir on her matchup, which we've seen already once today, paired against this Yamoja Jingwei matchup. And it seems like the King's Court is doing something that we talked about earlier. You're playing against this aggressive comp, playing a little bit back and forcing them to step up so you can get your farm is really, really important here. It's something nice to see. Jingwei scales fairly well, so early on she struggles a little bit, and now might be struggling more as Bible Study is looking to get active in the dual lane. MMR is here, has the ultimate online. Jingwei is in trouble. There's the beads, but the wall is very, very good by Tempo, but not much else to find here, but does cause a TKO. But against a Jingwei, does it really matter? We'll have to find out if they're able to invade the purple buff.
Bible Study, maybe the gank wasn't quite what they were hoping for, but it's going to be those little victories, being able to take not only the purple buff, but you can see NMR looking for a little bit more. No one's there to contest this speed buff that belongs to the Bible study. So again, NMR is up in the King Court's camps and taking them away. We saw that even as early as, that minute 1 mark, which is part of the reason why NMR was able to hit 5 off that mid engagement. It almost cost Briz their life. So I'm seeing a type of game plan from NMR that I think suits Loki pretty well given the circumstances they're in, and that is just mega farm, right? But do it in their jungle. You're a very slippery character. You can go invisible. You got the ult to get away if you need to. So utilize those tools to try to find your own win condition. And if that's just keeping this Fenrir as down as possible, then that'll work, right? Because if Fenrir can't get their items online, that's going to keep them vulnerable. It'll keep them killable. And it helps keep your Hecate safe because she doesn't have to worry as much about the enemy jungler.
Yeah, I mean, I like this strategy from MMR. I mean, this is something I talk about with the Lokis. You want to make sure you know who your targets are early and then execute those targets as soon as you can. Now, I do want to highlight something that we saw during the spectator there for a little bit, that Snatty not only walked up and stole the blue buff of John Rolling, but then went over the Fire Giant pit and picked up those nice little Fire Giant pebbles you see from time to time. And I always like to highlight those. I think a lot of people don't realize that they're there, or maybe just forget they're there. When you walk by, +2 intellect and +2 strength for free. Can't go wrong with them, and Snatty already has 4. Those are permanent. You have them the whole entire game, and, they feel pretty good to have. So you get to get them for free, and as long as you're watching when those are on cooldown, you see a lot of junglers pick them up, but Snatty is optimizing those and heading back over at this very moment to pick up a few more. So just a nice little thing to watch out for here is Snatty's making sure to pick those up and maybe, put things over to the Odin side where you don't see necessarily a level advantage, maybe a slight gold disadvantage in some sense. Snatty's making moves to make sure they stay even.
And Odin uses those stats so well. Intelligence for the shield and strength for throwing the spear. And Kaidon goes ahead and opens the gate on top of Briz. So again, another kill here for this mid lane jungle combination. Already looking a little rough for the King's Court. Bible Study are definitely playing to their strengths, and it gets even rougher. I think the immediate answer from the King's Court has got to be, we have to shut down NMR. They haven't quite gotten the plane off the ground yet. We're not soaring high, but we need to be able to say, hey, you're stuck on the landing strip until we have more time to figure out what's going on. Bible Study, though, have an opportunity to make an early Gold Fury play.
Ooh, I like this from Bible Study. They're stepping up as 4 over here on the left-hand side at the purple buff. It's a 4v3 for now. Briz is rotating over, looking to make a play. Tempo a little bit out of position, but right now it doesn't seem to matter. Oh, it does now. The Ragnarok comes through. There's the River's Rebuke. The ice is there, but it doesn't matter. Here comes more. The shields are there. On her looking to make a play, but gets put down. Briz has rotated over and said, no more. We are tired of getting ran at, and we're going to even it out. What looked like a potential Gold Fury play is absolutely shut down by the King's Court. Nice play to come back over, and Briz turning into that Odin. Has to feel pretty good. Snatty over here dealing with the Kraken in that nice little solo fight 1v1. The solos slapping away at each other and saying, let our teams do what they want to do over there. But meanwhile, back over in the mid lane, looks like NMR could be in a little bit of trouble. Very low health. Is looking to get picked off. Kaidon turns it around on the Justin who. Oh no, the Fenrir takes another one. They couldn't finish off the Loki, who literally has no health. You have to be upset. The one thing you don't want to deal with is a Loki that gets on a roll. The other thing you don't want to deal with is a Loki that's able to get away. Because when he's going into that stealth, he's laughing at you. He's taunting you even when he's not hitting the VET. So it's something to watch out here for Muzi. But look at this. Nice little steal play potential by Briz. How are you feeling now that you've seen the King's Court able to actually step back up? Does it make you feel more confident in what they're wanting to do? Do you think the Bible Study just bit off more than they could chew?
So I believe a lot of what happened around that purple buff was the Bible Study team initially found their win by taking away the purple buff, but like you said, bit off more than they could chew. They started to look for a little bit more when they didn't necessarily have to, right? Once you take away that buff, you confirm yourself farm for the team, you deny the King's Court their farm, that's already a win. You've already won the fight, right? Looking for more after that is just a little bit greedy, and it's trying to force fast play in a place where we don't necessarily need to, and that gives King's Court a way back in. So moving forward, Bible Study just needs to be a little bit more careful. Once they have their win, just get out, right? It's not worth it.
Yeah, and what I'd like to kind of see is Bible Study maybe rotate and try to deal with the solo lane issue right now. Like they have a little bit of a lead here. They're able to put this pressure onto Snatty. So getting over here and maybe getting able to take him out is going to be important. We now see NMR is hovering over here, looking to see if there's a play to be had. There it is. There's the Odin cage. Does NMR dive in? The tower is attacking his teammate. Just go. Here he comes. The Loki is there. Does he able to finish it? And he does. The NMR strikes again. The Loki making all the plays and now has an opportunity to go over to dual lane and maybe make another play on the left side of the map. Teleporter is on the way, and here they go. Justin Hu trying to, be up there in the jungle, taking care of some business up there, but NMR looking for golden. There it is. Nice use of the decoy block stuff. Causes the ultimate to have to be channeled and used there by the Jing Wei. Nice little play for basically nothing on the side of NMR. Now, Justin Hu, Briz stepping up here to Kaidon. Kaidon, there's the gates, opens them. It's a beads. Nice little play there. He's able to teleport out. Nice reposition there. Here comes the Briz ultimate, but not in time to say Justin Hu. NMR is around. They're looking to run it down. Look at this. Yamoja tries to say, hey, leave me alone. I'm going to put up the walls and walk away. No, you're not. Shell is going to make the difference there. And there we go on her. Picks up another one. Nice play by Bible Study, being able to not only turn it around over on the solo side and push that little bit of a lead, but then wrap around in duo and say, hey, it's time for a Gold Fury, Musi. Bible Study, I think, heard what you needed to say.
You can see here, too, John Rowling doing a great job of pushing out what could be a King's Court steal. Not even an option available to them. Bible Study confirmed their first Gold Fury for this game and really begin to establish their dominance, a lead among the other players here. NMR has been kind of wowing me with this Loki pick. I'm not gonna lie, definitely went into this and I'm like, oh dude, Loki, no, it's the lose the game god, right? And not quite. I think, like I said before, NMR definitely has a plan that they're sticking to, and it really involves asking the question of, I'm gonna steal your farm, what are you gonna do? And the King's Court just don't have a great answer to it. They end up losing a lot of their camps, and then when you see Justin Hu scooping around in that bottom left side jungle that belongs to the Bible Study there's nothing up, because the rest of Bible Study is either NMR doing their own camps, or the other teammates just covering NMR's back, saying, yeah, go invade that. We're gonna cover this so that we have a net 0 loss.
100%. Look at this. Walls exchange, but guess who's back? NMR is looking to see if there's a play available. There's not for the time being. Nice use of the ultimate by Snatty. Puts up the walls and says, I will walk out now. I'll see you guys later. But it's still a nice play nonetheless. I like to see the pressure put over here by Bible Study. They have a little bit of a gold lead going, looking to pursue, making it go a little further. And it's going to have to come down to the King's Court, find out how to deal with the mid lane. We talked about it earlier that we saw the Morgan in support. It had a little bit of an easier time than when it's the focus in the mid lane. Being focused there makes it a little bit harder to play. And Bible Study's really put a lot of effort in the mid lane so far in trying to make sure, hey, we have a little bit of a lead there. Let's keep the pressure there as so far. Now we have Yamoja over here in the mid lane saying, okay, you know what? If you guys are going to keep coming after Briz, then I'm going to be over here to kind of help deal with that with my Riptides and so forth. So NMR might have to pick a new target to look at, and it looks like it might be Snatty. Snatty getting a little bit active to clear some waves, but NMR is on the way back over, and here comes the Loki looking to run it down. It's a good damage put on the Odin. Snatty gets the shield up, but it doesn't matter. John rowing rows his boat merrily down the stream and takes him down as a fight seems to slightly broke out in the mid lane and dispersed here, Musi.
It's a lot like what you said, because there's so much pressure happening in this mid lane, and Kaidon with this Hecate pick, especially the shield that they can give herself, like, she doesn't have to worry too much about what Briz does, so it's going to take a rotation from Moods to put more like pressure onto that lane. That opens up NMR to look at other targets, and Snatty has already taken a loss. They've already taken a death, and their items that they have here aren't quite what they need to be able to stand up to the split damage scaling that's happening between a Kabrakan and a Loki. It's always the trouble when you're up against that magical solo laner. The physical jungler just walks over and says, hey, I heard you at Prophetic, and it gives you not enough prots to deal with the damage that I can do. So Snatty's definitely going to be waiting for that late game, mid game, in order to get online and start really trying to influence fights. But in the meantime, it's just a feeding ground for John Rowling and NMR. And look, NMR again is just chilling on that right side. So what's the answer from King's Court?
I mean, I think the answer is you got to push pressure somewhere else. Obviously, mid lane probably isn't where you want to look. Maybe it is trying to counteract on the solo side, but Snatty gets caught out by the walls. NMR picks up another one. The only good news for Snatty right now is stacking on Prophetic Cloak. You're getting a physical and a magical over there, so it's helping you get some stacks. But now, over on the other side, the dual lane, where I was going to say that's probably where your focus wants to be, it's not. Justin Hudas takes a fall, and Ymir's full health. You can't go and try to do anything else. Kiaidon's still over here, full health as well. Bible Study have control of the map right now. Gold Fury just spawned. And if they get 2 Gold Furies this early, that is very problematic here for the King's Court. You don't want to let the Gold Fury go, not just for the gold difference, but for the buffs you get along the way. It is very important to try to get these early because it's going to help snowball into your favor if you can make it happen. And look at what's going on right now. Bible Study is there.
Well, looks like they certainly did their homework. The second Gold Fury goes to Bible Study, so now they will be having a little bit of minion buff action there for whoever stands next to the wave, so the pushes for Bible Study get a little bit scarier, especially when you have a character like Loki who can make some pretty effective split pushes. But the fun doesn't end there for Bible Study, because while this on her is getting shoved down on the left side, Pyromancer being picked up by Bible Study in that mid section. So we have not quite reached that uh-oh territory, but it's getting really difficult for King's Court to find their way back in. And they really, at this point, are relying on these 5v5 situations between the King's Court and Bible Study. And now, how do those fights even look? Because Snatty is going to want to walk up and throw the ultimate out, get some cages going. Maybe Justin's able to burn some beads. It's really relying on Briz to turn into Hecate to make people die, is what it feels like.
And look at this, Snatty gets over the wall, no ultimate from NMR to try to chase it down, but does push him out anyway. NMR showed up and Snatty's like, yeah, I'm good, I don't want to be here anymore. I mean, I like the idea of this Prophetic Cloak. You want to get that mitigation online. It's going to give you, it's going to feel good once it's stacked. But early on, it's not going to feel great, especially into the current comp you're against. The Ankylo, though, is very interesting now that you can activate it and cause a silence. I do like the idea. We'll have to see if it plays out in the team fights. But now, here comes a team fight in the mid lane. Open the gates is there. Briz turns into the Odin, trying to do what needs to be done. But Justin Hu, Ragnaroks, Kiaidon down. NMR picks up Moods. And look at this, Justin Hu now trying to escape. It's a 1-for-1 for now. Justin Hu is there, but I don't think they're going to live too longer. NMR walks around the corner and tickles him with a dagger. And now it's in the mid lane. There's still a fight to be had as Golden makes the rotation. But is it worth the cost? For now, just poking out some damage, is able to walk away. So at least there's that. There's not much else to pick up right now, but this mid tier 1 tower. NMR is going to go on a hunt looking elsewhere in the jungle.
No other objectives to really do except for towers or fire giants. So at the very least, King's Court won't lose too much off of that engagement. You really have to respect the itemization coming out from Bible Study here. 3 shells for them at this point in time. We saw 2 of them popped by Tempo and Kveka. Like, it's so difficult to put these characters down, and they can just completely ignore Snatty or Briz when they transform into Snatty, and as well as the Emoja ult too. So they're getting so much benefit just out of that one relic. Kind of wild value there for Bible Study. They continue to push their lead here, and I'm just kind of wondering, where's the in for King's Court? Because it feels like every turn they get like turned on, right? If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
There's a 3-level difference here for NMR in the jungle. John Rowling's ahead because Snatty had to opt for this a little bit of an awkward late game leaning build. At least the mid laners are tied, but NMR is kind of running the show for Bible Study right now. King's Court haven't found a way to stop it.
Yeah, I think the thing with King's Court is you need to find a way to deal with Bible Study when they don't have their shells. Like, if they can't escape the Emoji ult, if they can't escape the Odin ult, then things get a lot easier for you. But right now, that's not really an option. They can't seem to fight because guess who doesn't want to fight if their shells aren't up? Bible Study. Like, they're playing it very well to make King's Court uncomfortable. So it's one of those things where you have to be careful. Obviously, NMR is really trying to run the game as this Loki, and so far it is working to a T. So you have to be cognizant of where he is at all times. You have to have the wards up. You have to have the vision on where he is at all times. You have to be calling it out if you see him. Hey, we just saw him in right lane. Oh, cool. Then I can do something somewhere else on the map. Gold Fury just spawned. Does that open up an option for King's Court? They're over there. It looks like they're going to try to maybe pull it, but Bible Study's there and waiting. It's one of those things where it's very detrimental to King's Court. If they step one thing out of position, we're not to a point now where, okay, I just lose a tier 1 tower, or I just lose a Gold Fury. I could lose multiple towers and objectives. I could lose a Fire Giant and possibly a Phoenix. Things get a little bit scary here from King's Court. You don't have the leeway that you had before.
Well, and also look too at Justin Who's build. We have Golden Blade, Shield Splitter, and Ankh. Like, it's not only is your fender behind, they're not building any damage. So where's your damage even coming from? Jingwei also has tank. Everybody's got tank, but it looks like Bible Study said nuts to that. We're just going to go damage, and it's working for them, which is not what we're typically used to.
Oh no, the freeze is good on a Snatty. Snatty has to jump out. That leap is gone. So they're gonna have to reset how they want to do this fight for the King's Court. But now Moods gets caught out. That's a lot of damage put onto Moods. Here comes the gates, but it doesn't land onto any targets. Oh, there's the Reverse Rebuke as well. John Rowan does not care, running it in, says, cool, 1v5, my team will show up and it will be okay. And so far, that's been the play. Kaidon takes down another. The Bible Study has been hitting the books, and they know exactly what they want to do. It's 2 for nothing. Make it 3 as Kvyatko picks up another. Make it a double. Golden falls down as well. They could go take the Gold Fairy. They said, no, we're going to back, and I'm assuming we're going to run it down to Fire Giant.
That does feel like exactly where we want to go, especially after getting 4 kills for the price of none. I cannot believe John Rowling lived for as long as they did there. Were you watching that health bar and how many shells and Hecate shields? And it was just, everybody get that man. And you just can't do it. Nobody has damage. Nobody has penetration. So Kabrakan lives forever. First pick, baby. Bible Study's going crazy. Should have stayed in school, kids, because King's Court really showing up to be the jesters at this point. Bible Study, with this Fire Giant, they got it down to half and no one here to contest it. And the fights that come after this, I mean, we got tier 2s available, Pyromancer available, the dagger going to the on her, says goodbye Nagas, we don't need it.
Yeah, now we have Pyromancer pulled up. The Bible Study is not playing around anymore. They're like, okay, now's the time to run it down. Gold Fury's up as well. That would give them all 3. I'm assuming that's where we're heading next before we start pushing down these objectives, because the King's Court didn't make their way over there to take that, which would have probably been the best play for them. But now, here it goes, Bible Study now heading over to the Gold Fury. Oh, hey, you know what we can collect on our way over there besides as the Pyro? We can grab the Queen Naga as well, so we have those to help us with our push. What was already a scary time has become a horror movie here for the King's Court. They have so much to worry about in the presence of Bible Study now. The defenses, they have the tools that are there. It's about the leads that Bible Study has at this point, and how do you counteract their push on the towers and the Phoenixes when they have a bomb, they have the Nagas. What's the play at this point? And it's very concerning when you look at what they have.
Well, originally your game plan would be, okay, Statty's gonna catch him in a cage, maybe under Phoenix or something like that, and from there we can win a fight and try to lock people down while they're stuck taking damage. But they have 3 shells. Bible Study doesn't care. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe we could try to pick somebody and burst them down. You don't have penetration, you don't have any damage, and Bible Study doesn't care. So now you're like, all right, well, maybe we can try to fight them around the fountain, or do we take the fight to them and try to find a pick somehow anyway? And Bible Study has Fire Giant. They have every tool available, and Bible Study doesn't care. They are going to run it down. They're going to group up because this Kabrakan is massive. This Loki has gone nuclear. Everybody from Bible Study, like, nobody has taken a knee at this point. Only 1 kill for the bottom 3 players. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and here goes, look at Briz just run straight in at Guidon looking for a play. Goes ahead and ults into the Odin, saying, okay, we got enough damage, we can make something happen, but no, the gates are good to save Guidon for now. Do they live? And it looks like they trade with Justin Hu. It's a 1-for-1 trade. That's at least something for the King's Court that they needed. The problem is the dagger is still alive on the Honor. They're gonna find Moods next. That's 2 for 1. The tier 1, tier 2 are down in the dual lane side. Snatty is behind, gonna take down a wave, but I don't think that is gonna make the Bible study think anything about it. They're like, cool, we have double bombs. Goodbye left side bird. Now, what's the next thing we want to do? Oh, we'll go grab the tier 2 and mid. We're tanky enough. We don't need the waves. So now we have a 3v4 in the mid lane. No ultimate on the Morgan. So it's a little bit of a coin toss here. How do you want to defend it? I think you let the towers go here, Musi.
You cannot defend them, but at the very least, Bible Study can't push them because they don't have minion waves to push up with. And that does bite them in the back. They could have gotten a little bit more, but instead it'll just be the left side Phoenix. And of course, what a sentence is that? Oh no, we only get a Phoenix. Like, yeah, all right, buddy. Pyromancer picked up here as well. Bible Study basically begging King's Court to try to take it from him, right? We're asking you to come up and, you know, are you feeling lucky, punk? Not lucky enough, as Pyromancer scooped up by the Bible Study team, so they'll have that in their back pocket, maybe for another double bomb on a Phoenix. They still have to chew through that right side tier 2 tower, so there's a bit of work left to be done. That means that there's wiggle room here for the King's Court. They were at least able to trade out Kaidon in that last engagement. The trouble is you have to be able to do that before Kaidon can ult, because all this Hecate wants to do is press 4, throw out as many abilities as possible, and then die, right? They're not really worried too much about anything beyond that. So you have to make that decisive jump before Kaidon gets a chance to use their kit. You have to be able to blow them up. Maybe after you do that, you can force away some of these shells, and then you can follow up with Snatty's ultimate so that they won't be able to triple shell your Odin cage. That's your way in, potentially, but that's a tall order to put in there because Kaidon's massive, and King's Court, they just have to cherry pick these fights. It feels like the stars really have to align.
Oh, look at this. John Rowan finds a nice little stun there on to Snatty. Snatty has to walk away. And already there's this shred put onto Briz. Moods is out of the place now. It's another Odin cage. They've been using this double Odin at what cost? NMR is really low. NMR dies. This is big for King's Court. Can they find something on the other side of it? No. Tempo picks up a kill. And now it's 2 for 1. Snatty is the one getting chased down. Can they catch the Odin? Oh, the up down. Unfortunate. There we go. Snatty takes a spill, and it's 4 members of Bible Study alive versus the 2 for the King's Court. Looks like Fire Giant is what they're going to look for here. Justin Hu is around, but is going to back. So is Golden. They're going to let this one go. They say, I don't know if we can stay. Actually, the backs have been stopped. They are aware that this is happening. Do they make a play for it? Do they get a steal? What is the play here? Golden lets it go, but now looks like Justin Hu says, I'm good. I'm going to get the farm that I know I can get and deal with the controllables on her with the Obsidian Dagger, yes, again.
Ancient Gold Fury is spawned at this point as well. So the next push from Bible Study with that Ancient Gold Fury gets really scary for the King's Court. They've managed to drag the game out this long. Being able to kill NMR in that last engagement was pretty good. The trouble is that it costs so much to be able to do that. You end up kind of feeling like maybe NMR died because they got a little too confident and tried to overcommit to something. Is that the win con? Do we wait for Bible Study to make a mistake? And if that, you know, and when you have that mindset, have you already lost? If it's
I mean, it's like it's a hard thing to do for sure. Like you're playing this game of like, do we wait for them to make a mistake? And like that doesn't feel good. That doesn't like bring the confidence that you want into the team fights, but it also just makes it hard to turn around. So it's one of those things. I think it has to come down to the defense. Luckily now, you know, people are level 20, and once that happens, they can't push any more of experience lead. So there's that. You know, we're finishing out builds, but the problem is the gold lead has let Bible Study get way farther with itemization. But the longer TheKingsCourt can stall this out, the more of a chance they have. I just don't know how much longer they can stall with the way that they're getting aggressive on this left-hand side. Bible Study looking for the weakened bird yet again. Tempo and John are here. They pop the Nagas, and here comes the On Her Shred, and there goes the Phoenix. It's gone, but look at where Briz is. Briz goes in behind. There's the River's Rebuke. There is the Odin Cage. There's Ragnarok. All these things channeled. Nothing taken as of yet. Looks like for now, everybody on Bible Study will live. And John gets a huge ult out of the Kabrakan, which is nice. It sets up everything and says, okay, you guys have to walk away and respect our damage. And now Tempo goes, okay, well, I'll take the next bird if you guys want. We can take that too, right? There it goes. NMR picks up Briz. They pick up a mid bird too. And this has become a major problem as Justin Hu steps up, tries to brutalize for a kill, but it's just not enough damage. Moods trying to get back to the base, but it's not enough. Nice little wall there by Tempo, and game, set, match to Bible Study. They are going to move on to the finals, and soon we'll find out who they're going to be up against.
I mean, that's a tough one there for the TheKingsCourt, but they were able to put up a pretty good fight against Bible Study. It just felt like Bible Study from the very beginning of the game with that Loki play, it just out of control. The Loki was able to get ahead, and then from there, NMR was able to control the farm that the TheKingsCourt had, and once NMR was able to control that farm, it completely stopped any forward momentum that the TheKingsCourt could have generated, and you could see the gold lead just expand. It was almost 20k towards the end there. Just really, really tough to go against, and especially too, because you're up against characters like Kabrakan, like Hecate, like Ymir, characters that thrive in these conditions where they just want to run at you. And if they're enabled to do that, it's really hard to stop that or slow that down.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to push that gold lead, and they just never took their foot off the pedal. Bible Study were like, hey, we've got a little bit of a lead, and they just kept pushing it. They go, okay, where can we put our damage? Where can we put NMR that's going to make us be more successful? And you know, they started off in the mid lane, and then they pivoted. They said, okay, well, now we're going to go to the solo lane, and they made sure they controlled an area of the map that they wanted to control. They were not going to have to play the game of, oh, we're getting out pressured, we have to counteract, we have to be the ones that are reactionary in our playstyle. We're going to play in such a way that allows us to be the aggressor and control the extra part of the map that we want to control at all points. So shout outs to them for having a plan and being able to craft their comp in such a way that allowed them to be like, hey, we're not going to die. We're going to pop 3 shells. We have a Hecate shield. We have Kabrakan walls. Like, we have everything that we need. The little nuances were there, and they didn't fall down against a pump that had a lot of walls that caused them to buy shells. But we have to throw it to a short little break here, because guess what's coming next? It's the finals of Smite Prime here for Saturday. And guess what? Jump Machine versus Bible Study. We'll have to see can happen. Make it happen yet again. I'm excited.
We're gonna take on the world.